Live from outside the scene with more on that. Jen.
Well, Melinda, it was a chaotic scene out here earlier today with several streets closed off. Things are getting back to normal here tonight, except for a growing memorial outside the YWCA, serving as a reminder of what happened here.
From what we know right now, no one saw this coming today.
It was just after 10 o'clock Sunday morning when authorities say 54-year-old Muni Savyon pulled out a gun during a supervised visit with his 9-year-old son Joshua at the Manchester YWCA and opened fire.
He did produce a firearm, shot his son several times, and then turned it on himself and eventually killed himself.
The counselor who was inside the room was able to escape. Investigators say Savyon had been separated from his son's mother for several years, and the relationship had been troubled. News 9 has learned there was an active domestic violence protection order against him.
He's made threats in the past to harm himself, his son, and his son's mother, and unfortunately he carried through with that today.
Neighbors at the Manchester home where Savyon lived alone tell News 9 they are in disbelief. They say police were at the house for most of the day Sunday. Authorities say the YWCA does have a handheld metal detector and that it had been used on Savyon in the past, but not this time.
When they've had the money, they've been able to hire police officers to be in there to provide security. My understanding is because of budget cuts, they haven't had that money recently, so there was no other security in the building.
Savyon's visit with his son was videotaped. Authorities will be looking at that evidence along with the firearm that was used as the community tries to come to terms with such a senseless tragedy.
There's a lot of sadness and also anger on the part of everyone involved that a father would take his son's life for no other reason other than to apparently spite his mother.
Now, the YWCA released a statement tonight which reads in part, "We are deeply saddened by the tragic loss of life that occurred at the YWCA New Hampshire today. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families and friends of all those involved in this incident." Reporting live in Manchester, Jennifer Gannon, WMUR News 9.
All right, Jen, thank you. Well, this tragedy also scared Manchester's Robin Steffen. At the time of the shooting, the father of her children was inside the facility visiting with their daughters. Speaking to us over the phone, she says her ex-husband and children were right next door to where the shooting took place.
He heard the shots, and he basically grabbed the two girls and ran. It was a few hours of my life where I was wondering if my daughter was dead or alive.
And our team coverage continues tonight. Nick Spinetto was the first reporter on scene today and is live tonight with more about who the shooter was. Nick, what'd you find out?
Well, Melinda, we spoke with several of Muni Savyon's friends, including his rabbi. Everyone agrees that he was a passionate man into politics and activism, but lately he began to unravel, especially when it came to his son.
I was very concerned about the way the system's been working.
Republican State Representative George Lambert has known Muni Savyon for years. The two have been political activists campaigning across the state for change and limited government.
Muni was a really peaceful guy.
But on Sunday, something went awry with this man. While on a parental visitation at the YWCA in Manchester, Savyon shot and killed his 9-year-old son, then turned the gun on himself.
Oh, it's shocking. Muni is, typically, I've always known Muni to be a person who was strongly founded in the non-aggression principle. He was a guy who said we don't initiate violence.
News 9 did some digging and found Savyon was arrested last year in Nashua. In March 2012, he was arrested for criminal threatening related to domestic violence and intimidation. It's not clear who the victim was in that case or what happened with the charges. Muni's rabbi tells us in the last few years, Savyon had a contentious marriage and could only see his son at certain times.
Partial custody of his son on subsequent weekends over the last couple of years since I've known him.
At one point, Rabbi Levi Krinsky of Chabad Lubavitch served as Savyon's spiritual leader, but lately, Savyon was missing services.
Rather quiet and removed from mainstream community activities. Occasionally he would come up to the congregation. He would show up usually on the holidays. When he had his son with him, he came more often.
Sources tell News 9 Muni sent out a series of letters and emails shortly before Sunday's shooting. What they said hasn't been released. Now Lambert wonders if this could have been prevented.
We're all going to be scratching our heads for the next few weeks, going and saying, what is it we could have done better? What is it we could have done differently? And how is it we can keep a tragedy like this from ever happening again?
Now, if Muni Savyon's name sounds familiar to you, it could be because he made 3 unsuccessful attempts to run for state rep. The most recent was last year. We're live here in Manchester tonight. Nick Spinetto, WMUR News 9.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. And you can keep track of this story throughout the night after our 11 o'clock newscast. Just go to WMUR.com. We'll have updates, and we also have a video and a slideshow of pictures from the investigation.